Hi, it's Lee and welcome to the Tesla Economist. Where we left off on the last video about the earnings call, Elon was discussing Tesla's product portfolio and how he thinks they have the best product portfolio than any other company in the world. As Tesla have the best cars in the world that make massive profits, I would tend to agree. Tesla make high-priced consumer items that are very popular, yet Tesla are able to get their production costs so low they're able to become so profitable without not only sacrificing the user experience, but making it the best experience of perhaps any product that ever existed. For those of you with performance Teslas, I'm sure you know what I mean. However, we have the Cybertruck on the way too, which there has been nothing like in the history of man. Tesla are in the final lap for Cybertruck, building the line in Austin obviously. Great news, as Cybertruck is also an indicator of 4680 cell production, not just as far as production volume, but also energy density. Presumably, if they are ready to go into the Cybertruck mid-next year, then the energy density is looking pretty good, i.e. a lot better than 828 cells that only get 280 miles of range, like the Austin Model Y, but presumably that is software locked. Then Elon says they're making a lot of progress on the Robotaxi platform design. So there is no finished design yet. They're still designing the platform, or presumably the initial architecture. The Robotaxi is to date the only other vehicle that Tesla has announced will enter volume production, although we assume more to come obviously, and Elon has mentioned a van, but no dates given, whereas Elon in the past has said they expect the Robotaxi to be in volume production in 2024. Now, this was just one small sentence that Elon said about the platform, but I think at this stage we can assume a lot and draw several inferences. For starters, FSD works much better in the US than any other nation, and has the most data. Therefore, I think we can assume, and I'm not alone on this in the community, that Robotaxis will first be launched in the US. Yes, Elon in the past has said we can use our Model 3s and Model Ys in the Robotaxi fleet too. I think it's obvious that this Robotaxi will be a compact vehicle that has similar resemblances to the Cybertruck. Cold-rolled 30x steel that is hard to damage, no paint to scratch, etc. You want to make these vehicles as indestructible as possible. The aesthetics are of less importance. Of course, it would need to have good drag coefficient too. And if this is the same vehicle that Elon is saying can be produced for half the cost of a Model 3, then we're talking possibly about $15,000 to make them. So a lot of the design will be around the simplest way to manufacture a car, whilst bearing in mind utility for a passenger, and may possibly mean no steering wheel or pedals, or perhaps they're an extra option. It's a real shame the stock analysts get to ask all these questions and instead it's not the fanboys. There's so many questions just circulating around how this new Robotaxi is going to operate, or the entire Robotaxi fleet. But let's say the Robotaxi is for the US, perhaps even in a test city, maybe just in Austin for residents there first, like the 4680 Model Y, and perhaps regulation may be simpler in Texas. But then, would Tesla be selling these vehicles or keeping them for themselves? Tesla does like to vertically integrate, but Elon has also said you can turn your car into a Robotaxi with a software update in the future. As about 90% of Uber fares are actually single passenger, then it's silly taxiing people around in a large car. Elon says he basically wants to produce these twice as fast and half the cost of the Model 3. The smaller it is, the easier and faster it can be made. So it would be the compact, which would obviously make sense for it to be the same compact as what was called the Model 2 as a placeholder name, or the $25,000 Tesla. So that is possibly the next vehicle on the roadmap. But what about people who have luggage and can't fit into this compact Robotaxi? Well, so what? How do they get around now? Taxi, Uber, get a ride from a friend? Tesla doesn't have to solve every single application at once. Besides, a person could fit their luggage in, and if you have multiple passengers, well, get multiple taxis. Or perhaps you'll be able to order a Model Y. Anyway, as you can see, I have a lot of questions about this new vehicle and how or if it will be for sale to the public. And as it's the US, of which, remember, there are all these incentives, it will likely mean this vehicle will use 4680 cells, If we're talking volume production as early as 2024, I can't see it likely it would be any other form factor, and they need the production speed of the 4680 cell to get there. The chemistry will still probably be nickel cells, as Robotaxi is the highest added value, so they can justify using more expensive chemistry. But then what cells would they use selling directly to the consumer? Possibly an LFP cell, with a structural battery pack still? But supplied from CATL maybe? I can't wait to find out how all this will work. I think either way, it would have to mean that Tesla have stepped up batteries in an enormous way by about 2025. Which makes sense, as Elon then says they're working as fast as possible to achieve 1,000 gigawatt hours a year of production just in the US. He doesn't unfortunately assign any date as to when they hope to reach this objective, but it would also make sense if that was required for this compact robotaxi. If Elon is saying half the cost and size, then half the battery pack would be 40 kilowatt hours for the robotaxi or compact. 1,000 gigawatt hours a year is enough for 25 million of those. But even if it was a 50 kilowatt hour pack, which I think should be adequate, especially for a compact with structural battery pack, and bear in mind the smaller the vehicle, the more difference the structural batteries make. If the battery saves 200 pounds on structure and the car is half the size and potentially half the weight, then the structure savings make twice as much difference relatively. Okay, I don't think the car will be quite half the weight, but you get the idea that structural battery packs make more difference the lighter the car is. If lines in Texas are around 100 gigawatt hours a year, then obviously Tesla would just need 10 times that to hit 1,000 gigawatt hours a year. We know roughly how long it takes for Tesla to set up those lines, as we saw them do it in Texas already. If I recall, High-Bar Systems in Canada make the equipment to build the 4680s, which Tesla acquired. So possibly Tesla have also vertically integrated, making the manufacturing equipment for these cells too. Tesla just need to work out how to ramp them, and hopefully they can just rinse and repeat those battery and cell factories. Bear in mind, this also excludes all of Tesla's suppliers, namely CATL, and it also excludes Tesla's other battery and cell factories, like in Berlin. But just some very quick math, 1,000 gigawatt hours, or 1 terawatt hour, is enough cells for over 12 million Model Ys a year. That's what 1 terawatt hour a year equates to. If they were $60,000 each with a 30% gross margin, then that's $18,000 profit per vehicle, excluding any upgrades, extras, or even FSD. But 12 million Americans a year can't afford a Model Y, so these cells will be deployed in other vehicles like Cybertrucks or semi-trucks, but of course this robotaxi or compact vehicle too. Except that vehicle will have a smaller battery pack, so 1 terawatt hours is probably enough for 25 million of those. Possibly some of these cells go into energy as well. But even if Tesla is selling 10 million of these compact vehicles a year, then each one may have a gross profit of just $10,000. That's still $100 billion profit. But perhaps the caveat is that you have to pay an FSD subscription, likely more than $200 a month. But let's say it's just $2,500 a year, then after a decade, that's an additional $25,000 a profit per vehicle. Either way, I think that we should consider the fact that it is very easy to find around $250 billion gross profit with 1 terawatt hour, perhaps $200 billion annual earnings, which at a P ratio of 40 makes Tesla's valuation $8 trillion. But that's just the US battery production. Yes, we'll go more in depth with those numbers another time. Elon says that this 1,000 gigawatt hours a year US production will be vertically integrated, anode, cathode, and lithium refining, presumably lithium mining also, as Tesla has talked about that in the past and found more efficient processes better for the environment. All this vertical integration will further save costs again. This is amazing. Tesla will be able to control the entire process of making their cells without having to depend on just one nation, for example, where all the refining is done. This gives Tesla full control. Tesla will still need nickel and other various elements, but later on in the call, Elon was asked about mining, and he said they'll do whatever is necessary if that is holding back growth. If they have to get into mining, then that's what they'll do. Tesla is not going to let anything stop the mission. Again, this was all mentioned in the US and nothing mentioned about it anywhere else. Okay. And again, this was all mentioned just for the US and nothing mentioned about anywhere else. So far, so much good news on this call. We'll get into more of it in the next video. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.